What is up, everyone? In my last video, I explained what I personally thought were the top 5 most overrated heavy metal bands from a variety of subgenres such as new wave of British heavy metal, black metal, and thrash metal. And today I'm going to be explaining what I personally think, I mean these are just my opinions, but what I personally think are the top 5 most underrated heavy metal bands. Alright, number 1 on this list is Venom, a new wave of British heavy metal bands that I personally believe, in my own opinion, I personally think is very underrated because of how good I personally think their music is and how good they perform. I really like a lot of their albums. I listen to them a lot. I started listening to them when I was 13 years old when I discovered them online. But Venom, the band, named Venom, I really like that band. And I don't think very many people have heard of them. There are a few people I know that have heard of them when they came out like in the 80s and 90s, but they're not as popular as other bands and kind of in that same category as such as Iron Maiden. But Venom I personally like, and I personally think they're more heavier and they're a little bit more thrashier than bands such as Iron Maiden, which is another new wave of British heavy metal band that, in my opinion, like I explained in my last video, that I personally thought was overrated. And number 2 on this list is a glam metal band, Dwarfs. I really like this band. I discovered them on the internet when I was 14 years old, and I started listening to them over and over. Their Dirty Weapons album, I really enjoyed, and I personally think they are very underrated, and I personally like a lot of their music better than most of like Motley Crue's music that would be in the same genre. But my personal opinion, I think they're another really good band, and I think it's very undercredited, and they're very much underrated for how good I think they are, and how good I think they perform. Number 3 on this list is Death Angel. I think they sound really good, and they're probably one of my favorite thrash metal bands. And I actually really like this band. I've even seen them live, but I think how good they are, they're very underrated compared to other bands. They're in kind of the same subgenre of thrash metal. But this is just a band I personally think that are very underrated. Number 4 on this list is Destruction. I think they are I like their songs. One of the first songs I listened to them was Nailed to the Cross. And, I think they sound really good. And I think they're very, underrated. Not very many people heard of them either. And, for how good they are and everything like that, I feel like they're very, compared to some other thrash metal bands, they're just one I personally think that are very underrated. And number 5, a black metal band, Blodsrit. Almost nobody ever heard of them. They're literally one of the first black metal bands I've listened to, and I actually really enjoy, listening to them all the time. I've never gotten tired of them. But I personally think that they are another one that's extremely underrated. Almost nobody ever heard of them. You almost hardly never hear about them. And but I think they sound really good, and I really like and enjoy Blodsrit. Anyways, so that wraps it up with my top 5, most underrated heavy metal bands that I can think of. If anybody else think of any kind of bands they found or they discovered that you guys personally think that it's very underrated, let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching, and see you soon.